What's up, Steelers Nation? Before we dive into today's huge story, let me start by saying this. The Pittsburgh Steelers are working harder than ever this offseason to build a team that can bring real results in 2025. Every move, every decision, it's all about putting together a roster that can compete deep into January and hopefully beyond. So if you appreciate the effort the team's making and the effort we're making to bring you the latest, most exclusive Steelers news, do me a favor. Smash that like button right now and help us spread this video to as many Steelers fans as possible. All right, let's get straight into it. We finally have confirmation on something Steelers fans have been speculating about for weeks, and it all circles back to Aaron Rodgers and the controversial decision to trade George Pickens. Yup, you heard me right. According to ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler, the Steelers front office factored Rodgers directly into the decision to trade away their top wide receiver from 2024. Let's rewind the timeline for a second. The Pickens trade to the Dallas Cowboys happened on May 7th, almost a full month before Aaron Rodgers officially signed his one-year, $13.65 million deal with Pittsburgh on June 7th. At the time, a lot of us were scratching our heads. Why trade away your most productive wideout? Yes, the Steelers had already landed DK Metcalf in an earlier blockbuster deal. But still, giving up on Pickens heading into a contract year raised eyebrows. Well, now we know more. Here's what Fowler reported. His maturity issues were well known within Pittsburgh's locker room and front office. So, the Steelers made the evaluation that Pickens and Rodgers probably would not hit it off. And honestly, when you think about it, that makes total sense. Rodgers is a four-time MVP. He's one of the most demanding quarterbacks when it comes to preparation, professionalism, and focus. The last thing the Steelers wanted was to bring him into a locker room that included a receiver known for sideline outbursts, social media drama, and lack of discipline. Let's not forget, Mike Tomlin himself went on record about Pickens' immaturity issues last season. Tomlin said, "He's got a target on his back because he's George. He understands that, but he's got to grow up. He's got to grow up in a hurry." And it wasn't just locker room noise. Pickens also racked up over 6 figures in fines during his time in Pittsburgh for both league and team violations. So, with Rodgers coming in, and with DK Metcalf already secured as WR1, the Steelers decided to make a bold, culture-setting move. They shipped Pickens to Dallas for a 2026 third-round pick and a 2027 fifth-rounder, while sending back a 2027 sixth-rounder. It was a calculated move, and clearly, they had Rodgers in mind every step of the way before the ink was dry on his contract. Now, speaking of Rodgers, the team didn't stop there in building around him. Enter DK Metcalf. Metcalf, one of the most physically gifted receivers in the league, has already started working out with Rodgers privately. The two are building chemistry ahead of training camp, and according to the process with new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is going great. In a recent interview, Metcalf said, "He's unique. I think he's heavy in the play-pass realm. I'm still trying to get my feet wet with his terminology, but I'm making sure we're speaking the same language by the time camp hits." Steelers fans, if you're excited about the Rodgers to Metcalf connection, drop a "let's go" in the comments right now. But while Rodgers and Metcalf seem ready to light it up, there's another storyline brewing that we can't ignore. That's the situation with TJ Watt. Let's shift gears for a second. Watt, as you all know, has been holding out this offseason, skipping both OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Why? Well, simple. He wants a new deal. Watt is entering the final year of his contract. And with the edge rusher market exploding thanks to guys like Myles Garrett and Danielle Hunter signing monster extensions, TJ wants to be paid at or near the top of the market. And honestly, who can blame him? But things got even more heated this week after ESPN dropped their NFL All-Quarter Century team, listing the best players from the last 25 years. Guess who didn't make the main roster? Yep, TJ Watt. Instead, Watt was stuck on the practice squad list, while players like Garrett, Julius Peppers, Jared Allen, and DeMarcus Ware got the main honors. Steelers Nation. This snub did not go unnoticed. For a player with a Defensive Player of the Year award, multiple first-team All-Pro selections, and years of elite production, this felt like a slap in the face. ESPN analyst Seth Walder defended the snub by saying, Since Garrett entered the league in 2017, no edge player has accumulated more pass rush wins than his 522 ahead of TJ Watt's 467. That's fair, but let's not forget, Watt has been more productive on a per-game basis, and let's not even start on game-changing splash plays and Steelers fans. Remember this, every time TJ has been disrespected in the past, he's responded with dominant seasons. Back in 2023, when he felt robbed of DPOY, Watt posted that now famous cryptic tweet, "Nothing I'm not used to." So don't be surprised if this latest ESPN snub just adds more fuel to the fire. And let's talk contract reality for a second. The Steelers reportedly made Watt an offer, but according to sources, it wasn't close to what he's looking for. The $40 million per year contract Garrett got in Cleveland completely reset the market. Watt wants to be paid in that range. Period. The challenge for Pittsburgh, doing that while staying under the salary cap and balancing other roster needs. But here's some good news. NFL insider Peter Schrager went on the Pat McAfee show this week and said, "I know both sides are really motivated to get something done. Here, they don't want to go into training camp with this dragging on. So there's hope, but also pressure." And one last thing before we wrap up. It's clear that Steelers management is making tough, future-focused decisions this offseason. Prioritized Rodgers. They restructured the wide receiver room, and now they're facing a critical moment with Watt. Steelers fans are up in arms today, and the reason, none other than former NFL quarterback and current ESPN analyst Dan Orlovski, who just dropped a take that has Pittsburgh buzzing for all the wrong reasons, appearing on the Pat McAfee show. Orlovski was breaking down which AFC teams, in his opinion, have the most offensive firepower heading into 2025. And folks, you're not going to like what he said about our Pittsburgh Steelers. According to Orlovski, the Steelers just don't stack up offensively compared to other AFC teams. Here's the exact quote, making the rounds. "As far as Pittsburgh goes, you got two guys in the pass game that you really have to focus on, and then everyone else is like, okay, we're going to make you beat us. But wait, it gets worse." Orlovski went on to say this, "The Broncos are going to be better than the Steelers." Yup, you heard that right. Dan Orlovski just sat on national TV and said the Denver Broncos, led by second-year QB Bo Nix, are going to be better than the Steelers even, with Aaron Rodgers now in Pittsburgh. Let's pause right there. Steelers Nation, are you buying this? Let me know in the comments. Right now, thumbs up for Pittsburgh, thumbs down for Denver. Now, let's unpack this a little. Both the Broncos and the Steelers finished the 2024 season with 10-7 records. Both teams made the playoffs. Both teams lost in the wildcard round. Neither team has exactly lit it up in the postseason lately. In fact, the Steelers' last playoff win was in 2016, and the Broncos, 2015. So why is Orlovski suddenly acting like Denver is the next juggernaut? Here's part of his reasoning. Denver is banking on Bo Nix, their rookie-turned-quarterback, who's getting a lot of off-season hype heading into his second year. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh is rolling with Aaron Rodgers, entering his 21st NFL season at age 41. And that's where the narrative shift begins. Some national analysts are skeptical about Rodgers' impact in Pittsburgh. Yes, Rodgers is a four-time MVP. Yes, he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But he's also coming off an Achilles injury, and he's entering a brand-new offensive system with Arthur Smith as coordinator, a rebuilt wide receiver room, and still some question marks on the offensive line. To be fair, even among Steelers fans, there's a debate brewing. Some believe Rodgers instantly makes this team a Super Bowl dark horse. Others aren't convinced he'll be a major upgrade over last year's QB carousel of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, who by the way combined to deliver that 10-7 record last season. Now let's address Orlovski's two pass catchers comment. Who's he talking about? Clearly DK Metcalf is one. The Steelers went out and made a big splash, trading for Metcalf from Seattle. They then locked him up on a massive 5-year, $150 million contract. He's WR1, no doubt. But after that, Orlovski seems to suggest the second guy is Pat Freiermuth, Pittsburgh's talented tight end. Beyond those two, Orlovski doesn't seem too concerned. And honestly, looking at the depth chart, you can kind of see why some outsiders are skeptical. Behind Metcalf and Freiermuth, The Steelers have Calvin Austin, 3 electric, but still largely unproven as a consistent WR2. Roman Wilson, exciting rookie, but he's still a rookie. Robert Woods' veteran presence, but likely rotational at this point in his career. Scotty Miller and Ben Skowronek, role players, not primary threats. Is this the most intimidating group of pass catchers in the AFC? Probably not, at least not on paper. But here's what Dan Orlovski isn't talking about. Aaron Rodgers has made a career out of elevating receivers. He's turned mid-round picks and no-names into household fantasy football stars. Guys like Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, even Randall Cobb late in his career, all had their moments playing with Rodgers. Now, add a physical freak like Metcalf and a reliable red zone target in Freiermuth, and you've got something to build on. Plus, let's not forget the Steelers still have cap flexibility and trade assets. They could easily add another veteran. Receiver before Week 1, Gabe Davis, Keenan Allen. There's still time. And one last thing. Orlovski comparing Pittsburgh's offense to Denver's is honestly laughable for one simple reason. Experience under center. Bo Nix might become something special, but he's still unproven at the NFL level. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh now has one of the most experienced and decorated quarterbacks in league history, and Rodgers won't be learning how to read NFL defenses on the fly like Nix will. So let's bring it back to you, Steelers Nation. Do you think the Steelers were right to trade Pickens with Rodgers in mind? Is DK Metcalf the perfect WR1 for this new-look offense? And here's the big one. Should Pittsburgh break the bank to keep TJ Watt long-term, or let the market play out? Jump down in the comments right now and give me your take. I'm going to be replying to as many as I can. And of course, if you enjoyed this update, make sure to hit that LIKE button. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next big Steelers news drop. This offseason is just getting started. And with Rodgers, Metcalf, and Watt drama swirling, it's about to get wild. See you in the next one, Steelers Nation.